Hello everyone, I am Dr. Ninad and I will be giving a talk on sensors today. What is a sensor? A sensor is a device that gets a physical quantity and converts them into a readable signal, which could be an electrical signal also. Where do we use sensors? Sensors are typically used everywhere. Let's take an example of an airplane system. Here the sensors would be position, height, speed, temperature, location. All these sensor inputs are fed to the computer and the output could be engine speed, flap, motors, wings, etc. What is the difference between sensor and a transducer? The major difference between sensor and transducer is transducer has a sensor in it. So transducer can be considered as a sensor plus signal conditioning unit and sensor need not have a signal conditioning with it. Different types of sensor we are going to see varies today in this talk from alcohol sensor to PIR sensor, and there are more than 50 sensors we are going to cover in very short time. So I will just fly over the sensors and sometimes you might feel he is not going in too detail because there are too many of them and time is really short. So many a times you might have seen a policeman inserting some kind of alcohol sensing gun and measuring a reading. So what is the sensor used inside this gun? Alcohol sensor is nothing but a sensor that can measure ethanol. Now its range can go as low as 0.04 mg per liter up to 4 mg per liter and suitable for the regular breath analyzers. So MQ3 is the number which you should look for if you are trying to build an alcohol sensor. Many times you see this two eye like structure which we call robotic eyes also in this robots. Now you see this four eye structure with quadcopters. So what is this sensor? This sensor is nothing but ultrasonic sensor and its job is to measure a distance. So one of them is transmitter which transmit an ultrasonic waves. The other one is a receiver which receives a reflected wave back. So when this ultrasonic wave goes and hits to the target and come back, this total duration is directly proportional to the distance between object and the HCSR04 module of ultrasonic sensor. Many a times you see when you put your hand close to the dispenser, it automatically dispenses. Or you walk away from the loop, water automatically flows and clear. What is this sensor? This sensor is nothing but a IR sensor and it is working in a reflectance mode. So whenever an object comes in front of that IR sensor, it hits that light and reflects back to the sensor. So let me try and demonstrate. So in the initial state, the light is going straight, but when there is an obstacle, it hits that light and comes back to the IR detector. So this is a very simple sensor and its cost is just about 75 rupees with all the amplifiers which is here, a tuning pot and 3-pin direct output VCC grounded out which you can easily use. So very simple to use sensor. Now in movies sometimes they show when person starts walking over a road the light automatically starts blinking on. And what could be the sensor behind it? Or even automatic street lights can be considered when there is a sunlight which is dimming and when sunset happens, this light turns on automatically. So what is that sensor? We'll see next. This sensor is nothing but light dependent resistor. You can see multiple kind of sensors here with different packages. They all are LDR. So these light dependent resistors, their resistance goes down when light falls onto it, and due to which you can have a Darlington pair to amplify that signal and to get some usable output out of it. Now LDR has typically a non-linear characteristics with respect to light, and as light increases, resistance decreases non-linearly. So here you can see a daylight causing a 500 ohm and night light is causing around 200 kilo ohm. Now you might have seen that there is a vehicle on the road giving you PUC. So what could be the sensor inside this? Or there is a gas leak. How we can detect that gas leak without smelling it? The answer to these questions is basically a gas sensor. Now gas sensor comes with different numbers. We have already seen a gas sensor MQ3 which can detect a ethanol or alcohol. There are other sensors which can detect hydrogen or flammable gas or ammonium sulfide, etc. And these gas sensors comes in this 6-pin package which you can connect to this module, and because of this module it has onboard amplifier, and this sensor output can be converted into a TTL compatible output between 0 to 5 volts. Nowadays, we heard lot of times a hand controlled wheelchair or a gesture controlled robotic car. And even with the event or arrival of this quadcopter, the flying machines are also becoming popular. So most common sensors with these kind of machines is gyroscope and accelerometer. The gyroscope and the accelerometer are the MEMS devices that we are going to see in the next talk on MEMS sensor, how they are manufactured and all. But basically I give you an idea. These sensors moves object which is moving up and down, left, right or tilting. So they use the gravity and some internal mechanism like spring arrangement which are made using MEMS technology. So basically for any motion or rotation calibration you need these sensors. Nowadays they are available in combined package called IMU, and this package has onboard accelerometer, gyroscope and magnetometer. Many times you see car wiper starts automatically, and what is the magic that is happening behind? The main sensor used for these car wipers to move is called rain sensor. It's nothing but a variable resistor. So when water falls onto this sensor, it changes its resistance because of these interdigited electrodes. And you need some signal conditioning as shown here, this one, so that you can convert this resistance into proper 0 to 5 volt signal. If someone asks me about is there any sensor that go into the rocket and run in the space, yes, the most popular one is a SenseHat, which is an open source project by Raspberry Pi. A SenseHat is nothing but an attachment that fits on top of a Raspberry Pi. This SenseHat has IMU unit inside it, which is a combination of gyroscope, accelerometer and magnetometer. It also has pressure sensors and humidity sensors. These sensors are designed such that they can work into the space. IMU or MPU6050 is most popular sensor that's seen nowadays, and that is used inside devices like cell phone or smartwatches. It's a combination of accelerometer, gyroscope and magnetometer. IMU basically gives all three readings. The accelerometer gives a motion in x and y. The gyroscope gives a motion in x, y, z in rotational fashion, that is how many degree, we call it yaw and pitch. And also magnetometer acts as a compass. Now you might have seen a portable pulse oximeter. So what are the sensors inside that? Let's understand. Portable pulse oximeter uses nothing but a light sensor called photodiode. Now this is a semiconductor device that converts a light into its electrical current. It is very sensitive, and because of the PN junction layer, the smallest amount of light could be detected, and very small change that happen into the blood flow can be sensed inside the pulse oximeter. So that's why photodiode is used with sensitive applications. Now, if you have a mill where hundreds of products are being produced and you want to count them, so these products are going over a conveyor belt, and we need a contactless sensor that can count these products. So the solution or the answer to this is an proximity sensor. Now, proximity sensor basically senses a target in motion, and then, as per the moving target, it produces the signal. So, these targets could be because of the electromagnetic radiation or infrared fluctuation. So, anything which is not non-contacting is we consider under a proximity sensor. Now, you might have seen this slot type sensor, which is nothing but a variation of IR sensor saw earlier, and a rotary encoder placed inside a hard disk or CD-ROM to measure the speed. Now, the speed measurement basically what happens, we will see in the next slide. So, when a disk passes through this region, what happens? Light get cut, and because of that, there is no radiation from transmitting LED to receiving phototransistor, and that's why the signal around this phototransistor goes high. So this becomes off, and the output signal goes high. Now, in old days, you might have seen there is an on-off button, and then you actually move a knob in a rotational fashion, and this sensor senses the amount of rotation you do on that knob. So that sensor is nothing but an potentiometer. A potentiometer has typically a cap fitting on top of it, and then there is a plate inside this. Now there is a wiper that connects that plate at different location and comes from the middle terminal. So when you rotate this knob like this, what happens is this resistance changes. It might decrease or increase depending upon the angle of rotation, and that's how angle can be measured. Now you can imagine this is limited by a space, and that's why it can measure only up to 360 degree or less than that. Now you will ask me a question that we have seen something in car deck which you can keep on rotating, and is it a potentiometer or not? So this is another type of angular measurement sensor called Hall effect sensor. Now an Hall effect sensor is nothing but there is a magnet that rotates, and when you rotate it over a sensing plate, what happens is signal is getting generated. So you can imagine you can rotate this magnet infinity times, and it doesn't have any limitations like we have with potentiometer. And that's why the movement is also pretty smooth. It don't need any force to move these kind of knobs. Now, these are the magical sensors once they came out into the market, that when you entered a room or entered anybody's garden, light automatically starts. And that happens because of the special sensor called PIR sensor or PIR module. Now, PIR sensor comprises of a PIR sensor itself, and then there is a backside amplifier circuit, and then the output is typically VCC ground and a 0 to 5 volt TTL signal. What happens inside a PIR sensor is you connect a different kinds of Fresnel lens on top of it. Because of it, these kind of detecting areas are created, and when object moves, let's say human is moving, human body tends to emit some infrared radiation which this sensor can easily capture and produces output signal inside a sensor, something like this. And you can easily feed it to an amplifier and get the 0 to 5 volt output out of it. A typical viewing angle of this is an cone between 110 degree steradians, and a range can go up to 3 to 7 meters. Now you might have heard on the other station there is a bridge on which when you walk electricity is getting generated, or there is a smart concept of smart shoes now that generates an electricity as and when you walk. So the sensor used in that is basically a piezoelectric sensor. Now we know that piezoelectric crystal when experience the force in one of its plate, it generates a voltage across the two plates. Same principle is used in this piezoelectric sensors that converts a pressure into a voltage. Piezoresistive differential pressure sensors are used to measure the differential pressures between the two pipelines. Here you can see a large fermentation setup, and we need to see the pressure between the two fermentation units so that their pipe don't burst. So piezoresistive differential sensor works like this. You have one pressure coming from top and other pressure coming from bottom. If they both are same, then this flap will remain straight. And as soon as one of the pressure overrides, the flap will bend in this direction or this direction, producing an output voltage. Now you heard this term multiple times, tactile sensor. Something like this, you may say it's a capacitive touchscreen, but no, these kind of touchscreens are tactile touchscreens, and where you get a feeling that you have pressed something. And they are used on airports and places where multiple people touch multiple times. And also in sports, tactile sensors are used because they can be mounted, they can be wearable, and once they are wear, a sports player can do his action and everything can be recorded. So tactile sensor is nothing but you have a light that is going from this acrylic sheet, and then you have a force coming that bends this rubber sheet, and because of this bending, a light bending happens, and then there is a light sensor behind it to sense if somebody has pressed something or not. Even there are wearable tactile sensors. This is tactile finger sensor to measure a smallest deviation in the finger. So that is the use of a tactile sensor. Capacitive sensor. So most popularly in earlier days you used to touch and with your nails you have to press hard. But nowadays it's very smooth. The reason being capacitive touchscreens. Another important application of capacitive sensors could be when you have bubbles inside a slurry and you want to measure the amount of bubbles inside. So a contactless capacitive sensor is used whose capacitance changes because of the arrival of the air bubbles. Now these capacitive sensors are again contactless types, so they can be considered under a type of proximity, and basically they have internal oscillator trigger circuit and output is taken directly to the controller. Now most of us might have played this new generation PS3, PS4 gaming sticks, and what they have inside is something called as tilt sensor. So when you bend something, it senses. And also you might have heard of this Segway term. It's a two-wheel bicycle, but in a different arrangement. Now we will see what is this tilt sensor in the next slide. So tilt sensor is a very smartly designed sensor. It just has two connecting lid at the base and two ball bearings on the top. So whenever you tilt a sensor, this ball bearing moves away and there is no contact between the two leads. And whenever you make it straight, the ball bearing again comes and touches, and there is a conduction between the two leads. Water quality is a big issue nowadays. So we need something to measure the water quality. One of those parameters is pH to determine whether the water is drinkable or not. Now, very interesting applications of pH has been found out. It can be used in food testing with different shape electrodes and also with the juices and all. So it's very important to measure a pH, and it should be lying in the range of 7. Now I have seen a special kind of pen. When you connect it to a plant, it can draw the same color, or when you show an apple to it, it can draw a same color of red. And even the dermatologist and skin specialist use this special device. So what is the sensor inside it? The answer to it is RGB color sensor. So a color sensor is nothing but sensor which has a photodiode array on top of it, and it reflects the light, a white light, back to the sensor, and depending upon what is the amount of received light, you can decide what is the color inside it. So typically RGB3 base colors are used and they are filtered, and then there are photodiodes. Now, I used to think that PIR sensors are used when I enter the mall, the doors automatically opens. Even in the airport, you might have seen the same phenomenon. And microwave sensors is the actual one, not the PIR one that are used. These sensors are also used in railways, where in the night when railway comes, this microwave sensor detects its arrival. Now, what is a microwave sensor? This is very similar to the IR sensor. It transmits a light, and whatever it is getting reflected back, that is being measured. So, very similar sensor to the radar. If you start rotating this sensor, it will make your own radar. These kind of sensors are very popular with the automotive cars, which you will see later in the HTTP. Now, many of you might have heard a clap based home automation. So when you just clap, then you get some light turned on or something. Or nowadays there is a Alexa to whom you just say, Alexa, turn on that light, and it will turn on the light. So what is the sensor inside these kind of devices? The answer to this question is sound sensor. So basically sound sensor is nothing but a mic. A microphone could be an electromagnetic microphone, it could be a resistive microphone, it could be a capacitive microphone, and there could be a signal conditioning circuit as shown here, which is used to convert that audio signal into a properly readable form. So that could be an amplifier or voltage comparator. If you want a clap like operation, it will be just a binary operation. Now you might have seen if you try to put a vessel full of water inside your microwave, within few seconds it automatically turns itself off. Or even some of you might have this kind of clock where it shows something in percentage. So what is this? The answer to that is it's the humidity sensor. So humidity sensor allows us to measure a humidity in the atmosphere. Now, when alarm clocks measure its humidity, it is in percentage, so that's why it can go up to 100% humid. And in case of microwave, when this humidity sensors get activated, then it automatically turns off because there is a lot of humidity, and then there is a chance of microwave getting burst because of the pressure generated by the water vapors. Now you might have seen this kind of flow meters which are U-bent or the special shape, and they use basically Coriolis mass flow meter. Inside a Coriolis mass flow meter, what happens is the flow enters from this side and then exits from that side. But during this curvature action, there are Dean forces produced, and these forces vibrate the tube. Now, depending upon the vibration, there are two pickup sensors connected, which are proximity type sensors, and they measure this vibration. And these vibrations are typically directly proportional to the flow. And this is how the Coriolis mass flow meter works. Next is ultrasonic sensor. So ultrasonic sensor is basically, instead of your regular float, you put an ultrasound towards the water, and then reflected wave depends on the height of the water. So closer it is, faster will be the reflection, and this kind of ultrasonic sensors works in the range of 40 to 200 kilohertz. So they are used in majority of these big size tanks you see outside. They can be used to store water or maybe oil, any other liquid. Now for corrosion-less signals, ultrasonic sensors are not preferred. We use something called as radar level measurement sensor. So this sensor is used to measure so that when you put a signal, I will explain with the next slide. So when radar sends out a signal, it hits the surface of the processed liquid, and that could be a hazardous chemical also or petrol also. And these acoustic waves are reflected back and sent back to the radar sensor. Now in hospitals, many a times see a nurse comes and releases this kind of balls. So what is that typical sensor that allows us to measure oxygen level or medical air level? The answer to this is a flow meter. Now I would like to play a video here, and I guess that will better allow us to explain what is happening. So here you can see a gas or liquid enter and flow is getting measured. So one way could be the paddle that rotates with the flow, and here you can have this magnetic Hall effect sensor, or it could be a free flowing weight. So depending upon the force, the weight is lifted more and the flow is more. It could be a Doppler effect where you send us out a signal and then the reflected back signal and change in the frequency is directly proportional to the flow. Or it could be a positive displacement flow meter where the special kind of arrangement like X-shaped gears are used. So they are rotated when the flow increases, their rotation speed also. Next sensor we are going to study is an water level sensor. Very commonly used, even you can see them in the tank automation, water tank automation on your terrace, or they are also used in a fermentation chambers. So basically they are used to sense the level of water, and it looks something like this. It has this interdigited electrodes, and as your water level goes up and down, its resistance changes. So there are three main kinds of water level sensors. The first one is a resistive, where they have interdigital electrode. The second one is a float with a reed switch, a magnetic principle. And the third one, where it has a holes at the bottom and water goes inside those holes to make the measurement. Now there is a diaphragm inside this unit, and because of this diaphragm, it bends as you put it deeper, and is bending basically directly proportional to the water level. Next very important topic is biosensors. Basically, these sensors contradicts my earlier definition of transducers. Basically, biosensors have analyte in it, then there is a bioreceptor, there is a transducer, and finally a signal processing unit, and everything packed in a very small package. Now, there are different analytes. These are all chemical based sensors, and then there are receptors like enzymes, antibodies, etc. You see a lot of these terms during this COVID pandemic. And then there are transducers, which are electrochemical, optical, thermal, or piezoelectric. And finally, you get a measurable signal, which is further needed a signal processing also. So there is a huge applications of biosensor, and I can take 1 hour to explain this entire slide in detail, but now I am just running. So one simple application is a cantilever to which some antibodies or receptors are connected, and whenever they are attached to the sensing element, the cantilever bends and changes the resistance. Or it could be a very interesting lens with a biosensor that can measure your sugar levels. There could be a tooth that you connect and it can measure an enamel inside. And there could be colorimetric sensors like pH strips, etc. There could be a sweat sensor that you put onto your arms or something, and even there could be integrated band sensors with Wi-Fi and IoT technology like your wristwatch and so on. And there could be a mouth guard sensor, something like this, which you put inside your mouth and that can keep on taking your saliva and reading from that. And there could be many other sensors like temperature. This is already in practice. Everybody might have seen this sugar testing strips, and there could be a gluco watch and so on. So nowadays, people are moving towards nano sensors, and I'm not going into detail in this current presentation. The most simplest sensor is LVDT to measure a displacement. It's basically nothing but a primary coil and two secondary coils. And whenever you move its core, it's basically changing the amount of magnetic field rating into 1 and 2. And we are actually measuring a different signal between the two secondaries. The transformer is very useful because wherever there is core, there will be a more stronger magnetic path and more induced voltage in the secondary. And here you can see how the output signal is varying from positive to negative with out of phase sequence, which you can further process. So LVDT can be used in the smart way where it can measure a difference pressure and give out the output signal, and even with the precise drilling, LVDT can be used. Next sensor is a colorimetry sensor where if you put something inside, it changes the color, something like your pH strips. And these sensors nowadays come with the display and everything packed together. So they are you can see by eyes the color is changing, but you can quantify them also using computer vision. So these kind of machines are nowadays available where you put a drop of urine or blood or sweat and they sense and give you the direct reading. Now colorimetric sensors has these many applications. Even now they can be used for HIV testing, hepatitis B or influenza also, and they are very biochemical based sensors, and basically you need to design something that changes a color when that particular something like Ebola virus comes and attaches to it, and it becomes a very cheap sensor because it's just a paper strip that is means you can just burn it and it's very biosafe. You might have seen this kind of machine in many people's house. It's basically a enzyme based blood glucometer. So what happens is enzyme based sensors could be these many. I guess I have already explained 1, 2, 3 in the previous slide of biosensors. Now there could be a blood monitoring device also, or there could be a needle type glucose sensor or a patch that you just attach and that can monitor your diabetes level. Now many times you might have seen oven or incubators, and their temperature can go very high also, and that's why we need a temperature measurement sensor. Here we use RTD. So RTD is nothing but resistance temperature dependency or detector, and it changes its resistance as the temperature increases and decreases. Now I move on to a lateral flow assay. This kind of strip you might have seen with the pregnancy test. So basically they have a paper inside, and when a liquid drop it goes by the paper suction and then changes a color wherever there are nanoparticles attached. So these are the lateral flow assays and very cheap sensors. So how these things work, basically there is one test line and there is one control line. So control line should always come up, ensuring that the particular sample has been soaked up by the conjugate pad and being transferred all the way to the baking pad. Well, a test line might or might not come up depending upon whether the test is positive or negative. So these kind of portable blood pressurement units are nowadays very common, and it basically inflates itself, and then later on it gives out the blood pressure reading. A differential pressure sensor is used in this BP measuring unit to measure how much to inflate this balloon. Otherwise, if you inflate it too much, it will be very tight for that person and it could be very disastrous. The actual readings are then measured by the microscope, like the pulses that a doctor measures with their stethoscope on. The temperature sensor starts with something called as 18B20 or LM35, this transistor lights package, and they are very cheap and very accurate and linear also in the 0 to 100 degree range. The another kind of temperature measurement sensor is thermistor, and they can come in multiple packs like this, and they all are basically non-linear. So as the temperature changes, the value changes, temperature increases, resistance decreases in a non-linear fashion. So there could be a positive temperature coefficient or a negative temperature coefficient. Positive temperature means as temperature increase, resistance increase, and negative temperature means temperature increase and resistance decrease. Now these kind of thermistors are mounted typically between the Peltier plates and they are seen inside your SMPS of the computers. Thermocouples are these fancy wires that come with your DMM, which has a temperature measurement facility. Or you might have seen that your heater or hair dryer, if you keep it on for a long, it automatically turns itself off. The thermocouple is the thing that is inside this hair dryer that prevents it from getting fired. So thermocouple basically, if you heat one junction and there are two different metals connected at that junction, then a voltage produced across this junction. Now there are different kinds of thermocouple that the person can use, and they can measure up to 500 degree also. Photovoltaic cell, arguably it's a cell or it's a panel, but it can be a sensor also which can sense the light. Straight away converts the light into a voltage, so it can be a light sensor. Now, photovoltaic cell works on a principle that more the light falls onto the photovoltaic cell, the more the voltage is produced between the two plates, and this voltage can be further stored, and they could be a very clean energy sources. So, photovoltaic cells are also known as solar cells or solar panels. They are all the same. Impedance sensor is a technology where you put a very small drop of liquid, it goes through, and while and the liquid is passing through it, you measure its impedance. So this is a very tiny, a coin-shaped chip that goes inside this big machine, and then impedance is measured, and that is basically used in many applications such as cell counting or particle counting. Now, basically, what happens inside a impedance sensor is when the liquid drop passes, the entire circuit moves from its resonance, and due to which the impedance state changes. And each time a cell passes, the impedance delta Z changes, which you can measure, and you can count how many cells or particles flown through the small capillary that is shown over here. Now, many a times you see if motor is not fitted perfectly to the base, it will start vibrating, and the sensor used in to avoid the accident is a vibration sensor. Similar sensors are put inside the cars also to see how the driver is performing or even to detect accidents in some cases. Vibration sensors are nothing but these very tiny units which has integrated connectors and a hybrid arrangement of springs and mass. So basically these are the suspended mass, and when you have a vibration, the suspended mass because of the spring rotates and because of these rotations you can measure a signal coming at its output, and then you can have a thresholding IC which can classify it into a digital vibration, and frequency of vibration can be measured. Variable area flow meter. You might have seen these kind of things floating inside a water, and they try to go down by the gravity and forcefully thrown up because of the water flow inside that. So these are the variable flow meters. What happens is when the large flow comes, the flow meter is trying to come down because of the gravity, but when it moves up, what happens is this area increases, and then it suitably reach equilibrium at some point, and that equilibrium can then further calibrated for the giving the measurements of the flow. It's purely mechanical sensor. Now, ultrasonic Doppler sensors are basically contactless method to find out what is the flow inside the pipe. You just attach it from the outside to any pipe like a watch, and then you get the reading of the flow inside the pipe. Very useful if the liquid being carried is hazardous chemical. So what happens in ultrasonic Doppler sensor, that you send out a signal and then reflected signal is being measured back, and change in the frequency and the Doppler shift is getting measured, and that decides the flow inside the pipe. Now this is a very simple sensor, read sensor, which can be used as a burglar alarm application, or can be used to measure a cycling. Nowadays everybody, because of the COVID, is inside the home, they can have these kind of cycles, and when you uh, run this cycle you can measure a speed by connecting a reed switch. So what is a reed switch? This is nothing but a switch that gets activated when a magnet is very close to it. So reed switch commonly used in many applications. There could be a multi-reed switch, and there could be even a relay type reed, and this is a commonly used relay switch. So when you bring a magnet close to the reed switch, it turns on. Now in the railway station you might have seen these kind of optics. So you put a heavy load up to few kgs, and there could be a mechanical spring balance, or there could be a load cell at the base to give you the digital reading. Even this load cell is used onto the weighing machines that you typically see inside your house. So load cell is basically a combination of multiple, typically a bridge kind of structure, and when it is forced from one side, this side bends, and because of this bending, the resistance changes, and equilibrium of the bridge is disturbed, which allows us to measure the load depending upon the bending. Now these kind of sensors you might have seen into your garden, they are nothing but mechanical pressure sensors. So mechanical pressure sensors could be bellows, diaphragms, or Bourdon tubes. So you apply more pressure, the bellow will expand, or diaphragm will bend, or Bourdon tube will try to straighten itself. And this mechanical sensor can be further attached to LVDT or something to convert this displacement into a electrical signal. Now most of the places when you see people are putting attendance, this fingerprint sensor is being used, and fingerprint sensor is pretty accurate biosensor, and it's pretty secure also. So it detects the valleys and ridges onto your finger which are unique to the person, and it's a purely capacitive or image processing based techniques. Now fingerprints are also available with your mobile phone and your biometric attendance system, something like this, or biometric entrance to the door. Nowadays, because of the COVID, nobody is going to go and measure a temperature with regular thermometer. So you can see policemen, or at the entrance there are people standing with the temperature gun, and that gun uses this contactless temperature sensor, which is nothing but sensing an IR heat radiated from the body. So they put a gun with the laser alignment onto your head at the center and try to measure a temperature over there. Now, obvious application of the contactless sensor is this temperature measurement gun, and it also has a laser focusing. So whenever that focus happens, it measures temperature at that point. Now, TSOP is kind of IR receiver, but it not only gives whether there is a IR signal or not, it also gives information about what is there inside that IR signal as a sequence. So these kind of TSOP sensors might able to decode a signal pattern of 1, 0, 1, and so on. So this is the extra information that is got with the TSOP sensor. The typical application of TSOP sensor is with the remote receivers inside a TV, and they can determine what is the button press, and not like a typical photodiode which can only determine what means button is pressed or not. There is a very interesting sensor coming up called heart rate sensor, which is typically fitted with your watches or even with your smartphones, and they can measure your heart rate from just your fingertip. So this sensor basically works on a principle that blood goes and comes back, changes the reflectance. So there is a red and IR LEDs sensors built in inside this module, and they can measure a heart rate pretty neatly. So the application of heart rate sensor is this Galaxy Gear S3 watch, or many other new phones have this heart rate sensor. The sharp IR sensor basically allows you to determine a distance. Unlike your typical IR, which goes from 0 to 15 centimeters, the sharp IR can go up to a meter also, and typical sharp IR sensor ranges between 80 centimeters to 15 centimeters. Now you can see these sharp IRs in many of the robotics projects that college students are doing. In front of the robot, they put it to detect the obstacles, and robot can go with obstacle avoidance. Laser based distance sensors are pretty costly, and they are only used when precise distance measurement is needed. One of such applications is when a new phone is manufactured. To detect any cracks or leaks or any damage with the screen, a laser based distance measurement can be done. Here you can achieve up to few nanometers of variation on the surface also. Atmospheric pressure sensors, they give you altitude at which you are flying your machines, and they are used with quadcopters or even with the choppers. So this is one example where ultrasound atmospheric pressure sensor is used. A current sensor is nothing but a hole, something like this. You put a wire through it and it can measure a current flowing through it, or it could be a sensor like this where you put it across a load and it can measure a current flowing through that load. So this is how typically a current sensor is mounted, and this wire carries more than 10 amperes. Last and the simplest sensor we have is a button. A button can be a sensor because when you apply pressure to it, it changes. It's sometimes also used as a limit switch, and one of the most common applications of this button could be your keyboard also. Another typical applications where you can see button sensors are these 3D printers, where you have buttons on the top to do the settings, and this kind of limit switches at the base and multiple places to determine whether the limit has been reached and to set the by default home condition of a 3D printer.